The story is what the heat popped up called. There is one blogger, will not call his name. He's Georgian by nationality himself. Here he had there. Okay, it can be found, Houston. And that means interesting. Man, such was, he has a lot of very subscribers. They're everything here well. A person is an atheist, well, not just an atheist, but such, you know, little scared baseball player every time he. You know, Georgia is the same country, religious, deeply religious. Even the name itself is Georgia. Georgia, she is dedicated to whom? George the Victorious. They tell me that there is not a day than a holiday which is dedicated to George the Victorious. Yes, and temples there, and it's a very popular name. And that's Georgians, they are deeply religious people. Well, now of course it's all stretched. All peoples now of course retreated from these standards. A lot, but nevertheless, no matter how. Here's to all these abominations that happen to us. And in Europe and the West. They relate definitely negatively. And they express it as Eastern people express it. So as if the demand is a little different, but means here is this person without end. And edges, so to speak, and edge. He tried every time church pinch. Blasphemed God, Church of Christ. He was talking about what? My God is money. Here is the one that presidents are drawn on the bill. Here is my God. And when I was hard, when I mean to God appealed, he did not help me. So he spoke. And that means nothing will happen to me. I am myself. Made church is nothing. God is nothing. That is, I will not all repeat all these things. Yes, you understand. That is, every time on this as if. Tried to remember it. Every time as if no one demanded. That is, the person is generally secular. That is, you there preaching some things they're related. With money there with something like that. Yes, well please. Well, like every time. Here in church, he needed to kind of catch on. Yes, and that's God and so on. And that's a man at a young age. Here's a stroke smashed. Yes, so smashed. What is the person saying? He just lies now, lies. He says no. I'm not scared of anyone. I can look everyone in the eyes. I think, where did he get these words from? Somewhere I heard it. Here are these words. I say no such person, which I would not be able to look into the eyes and take away the look. And I then remembered that I once watched an interview. Was such a remember. Criminal Authority Japanese. That's yes, Misha. That's his words. Those are his words. Well, they're clear. And hear what and how to hear this wires. Here's a man laying down. And he sees something. Some words. Something that is. He's in this state. It means, and they're already feeding him a cup sing. The Lord gave him the opportunity. Still yes. That is, the Lord does not want the death of a sinner. Want the death of a sinner. But I turn and live to be him. What is our fault if giveaway sinned? And what is the sin of Ataman? Let's remember all the same, because sometimes, in such a broad mass consciousness mining, it be like that sometimes. You listen to us, Orthodox. It happens that it means here. Some associate Adam's sin with allegedly sexual sin. And that Adam Eve, they were chosen from paradise, that's why. And that's on no wonder. Do I feel this way about we that? Have had 70 years without God. Yes. And the Bible was a day with fire not to find. Well, it was not better before. And in royal times, when the church prospered, when everything was shining, and there were many churches and saints and monasteries, people who read the Holy Scripture, they were considered for some little bit of people who can fall into schism or heresy, so it was. So we must understand that Adam's sin, he consists in that Adam and Eve, they broke the covenant of God's divine love. Modern scientists say that possibly primordial human, and the theologian has long said this, was created by way more gifted, deep, and knowing, if you can put it that way, than we accepted, considered to be in our biology textbooks, which is drawn somewhere by a man with depth in his hands, and such well there gender thalits vikramoits, who mind his own fire there. Some way. Yes, that's where something was burning, some fire he got himself there, and somehow he fried a piece of meat. But when we read Book of Being, when we read Genesis, we understand that Adam was by no means like that. Totally not like that. When he gives names to animals, this what mean? To we say, Holy Fathers, that he saw their inner essence, their calling, their structure that is, there was depth in it. And with original sin, that by original sin, when the Lord called the first people into this world from nothingness to being, he loved them initially and wanted people to, in loving union with Christ, perfected and brought the whole world to God. That's what the calling of this was, the world and man in it as the king of nature. By some Jewish UH submissions, the king of this world was originally Lucifer, with the devil exactly why he hated man. When he created, because how is it a hairless monkey and king of the world? And I'm so great, so shining. The angel's chief and I kind of moved. You know, he achieved his. He became king of the world. Only the world of the fallen world, when Adam was called to lead the love union. And so when we talk in Adam, must understand what that's not some gender sin there. It's not Apple ate Adam. How some think now, that's somehow outdramativism, not Apple was. This would have torn the commandment. The connection was broken, breaking connection with God. That is, the Lord loved and man was called in love. And he rejects this divine love. And disaster happens. First universal, worldwide disaster. What is this disaster? Notice the difference between Protestant teaching, Catholics and Orthodox. Here probably, as if a little bit like that. Comparatively theological moment. We find out for ourselves, Protestants still, and Catholics still approach this a slightly legally nominal. They have such nominalism, nomos law. What is the approach? A divine commandment was violated, some higher divine law, and we become kind of responsible before the law. Violated by the West, and because of that we violated the West, we become criminals. Let's remember this word, we become criminals, but so the Russian church does not teach. And let's remember how they teach in the Orthodox Church. When we hear we are each of us, here we know these words, only maybe we're not paying attention. Every time we come to confession, and the priest reads us a prayer before confession, he tells us words like that. Remember the one who came to the dawn. You're not gonna heal you breathe. Remember these words. That is man. In orthodoxy, they are not considered criminals, which should be punished for some atrocities for breaking the law. A seen as sick. Man who is golden. And sign respectively. First of all, it is a disease of our soul. And then, when we look in that context as a person, it will look completely different because we demand healing. And not that in satisfaction. That is an excuse. Here we have suffered punishment. We are all free. No hour. We need to heal. Exactly why today, in today's I Wong, and Christ in the beginning heals man spiritually and drains his soul, forgives him sins through his suffering, through his desire to beg. To him, Lord, these sins forgiven. Seeing his heart, seeing his friend's effort, seeing the love of those people who were close to him, and he forgives in the beginning, heals him spiritually, and only then the consequence of healing. His spirit, his soul. There is healing and body. Means from here we see that the Lord in the first wants the complete healing of man. Not only cosmetics. You know how in the room there, yes, there are already roaches running under both. They came there picture hung as if they're swept. It means, and the curtains were hung. Number he wants these roaches, these demons from our souls, exorcise in the beginning, as from year to year possessed. And then the result of this healing of the inner, there will be a full man healing. I have witnessed in my life this kind of healing only happened, it is not simultaneous. How it happens, that's when you read there, don't give a story about miracles, and it happens that the miracle is stretched, as if you understand in time and space. Here happens one moment. A miracle is happening, man. A man came there and was healed. It happens like kind of watching the story of human life. And she falls like this, that at first a person is sick, both soul and body. Then it means the disease of his body is aggravated. And through the sickness of his body, the Lord perceives God and is healed at the end and becomes Siav. And the Lord is in such a state of his, takes to himself. And when you look at this whole thing, then you will look retrospectively back. You understand that this miracle was, but only this miracle for others was invisible. Why here I had my godfather, he's in his youth. Even before the moment when he baptized me, he was an atheist. And since he was a person reading, he is a lot read he of course anything. I read everything, both secular and scientifically popular. And then, when you could already read, and you could get literature. Here at my mom's floor, books religious started reading, means spiritual literature. You know that it is easier for a person reading God than a person who nothing reads in principle. The beginning was hard for him at all, and the Holy Scripture he read, he did not understand what was happening. He reads well as you understand. Reads words like simple words. And they understand how it happens like this. We understand that the Lord then reveals all these to us. Sometimes we don't understand. Sometimes we think that this happens. It kind of goes by itself. Well, here he read, and at some point, that reading led him to that. What does he understand? That God is. And he needs to come to church for a confession, and for communion, and he does it. But before that, had a disease. In the beginning, this disease, oncology. He fought this disease, And that means there will be a proverb completely unknown to us, that the Lord, when he cannot influence us with no word of his own, not his love, which we trample every moment of our lives, do not pay attention to him. He is of no value to us at all. Then the Lord already allows suffering. And so sometimes this suffering acts like this, the way that man comes to God. They make him think about his life. And that's when I watched my godfather die. It was already like it would of course be completely smashed. Already absolutely lay in that state. You know how people are here before death, already in oncology. But it was already a whole different holy man. And it was that breath is no longer local. Another life, and he was waiting for this transition. He was waiting for it. Connection with Christ. He was already waiting, he wanted it. He perceived death as joy. No way we are with fear and fear. Well, not all, of course. Not all of us are different. Everyone understands well as if basically we are afraid of death and we don't want death. Here are the people which here he came into a state of insulting Paul. Wish I have let go of your body. Brennan be and with Christ. And be with Christ.